Hello everybody, it's me Lamani. Happy Monday, and I think this week we're going to be taking it back to our roots a little bit, and we're going to be working with some builds, some good solid healing content. We got a lot to talk about and some big things coming this week. So today I'm going to show you what I've been doing most recently as it comes to expeditions, trying to run as many as I can, or general open world content, the build I've been having a ton of success with when I'm speed running. So everybody's wanting to get expeditions done faster and faster and faster, and you don't really need a healer, to be quite honest with you, but I have this optimal setup that allows me to heal when I need it. I have just enough focus to do it, but also pump out tons and tons of damage. This build has forced huge time increases for my group just going through expeditions, especially Laz and Jen specifically. But when it comes to those, like I'm talking, we're on the last boss of Laz and we get one down phase and the boss stands up and shoots laser beams at both sides before we even get to the second down phase. It's crazy. So you can pump out crazy damage. You can still heal your group a ton without even swapping to a life staff, and you are good to go for speedrunning content. And I think this is also going to be a very viable build when mutators come, as far as having it as a secondary DPS to really buff up the group and have that supplemental off healing. Now, before we get into the video, I just want to say thank you all for the support. I didn't put out a video on Friday because I'm needing some more time because my classes are starting back up. Got a lot of stuff going on, but regardless, I appreciate every single one of you. If you want to connect with me, feel free to leave a comment below. I'll respond. Send me a Discord DM. I will respond at some point, I promise. As always, you can follow us on Twitter, Twitch. We stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, somewhere between 10:30 a.m. Central Time. We go for about 5 hours. Follow us on TikTok. Follow us on whatever the socials. Hit up our Discord. And if you want to support me directly, I do have a Patreon. But like always, please keep doing that weird YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell. Tell everybody you know. I would really appreciate it. Now, this build, it's honestly my favorite setup that I have right now. I think it's the most fun in dungeons because it's giving me an opportunity to truly be a DPS and kind of be like a secondary off healer. It gives you enough that if you need to swap to heals, you're good to go, but you are just pumping through content. It's a ton of fun, and I'm going to show you how to optimize it so that you can succeed in whatever environment you choose to use it. You want to be a strict DPS? You do it. You want to be a strict healer? You do it. You want to have that kind of mix of both? You can do it. Let me know what you need, but as always, just sit back, relax, maybe grab some popcorn or something, and I hope you enjoy this little build overview that I have for you on Monday. All right, gamers, we've been around this block 1,000 times, but I'm still going to show you the life staff setups that I've been using pretty much the whole game. I'm going to give you two options that work well with this kind of high speed, high damage healer, damage hybrid kind of thing. It's bread and butter. So, right, we're going to go into our normal heals. We need something to remove debuffs. We get Blissful Touch. Sacred Ground is a must. So much healing, and you throw this down, before you swap to your Void Gauntlet. If you're worried about it, you take your cooldown reductions, you take your intensifies because you can still get those stacks rolling. Beforehand, we'll take that additional healing. And now kind of here's where you can start to flex things. Option one, something I've been really enjoying healing with again is Beacon. So like you can run Beacon and you can do it like this. And then we'll go there. And then you go there, and you get the most optimal Lights Embraces because you have Spirits United if you ever have to switch. That's kind of appealing going into this one. I mean, we don't really play with a ton of life staff, so again, we could swap out for this and take Speed of Light. So this is an option if you want to play with the Beacon heals, but personally, with the update coming out and everything, I've been running Orbit Protection to prep for Mending Protection because Mending Protection will actually work. If you aren't familiar with it, right now it doesn't work, but what's going to happen is they're going to make it about a 3-second long buff, like 25% additional healing. And whenever a player on your team gets healed when they're below 50% health, you're going to get a healing buff increase. So you'll do like 25% more healing. But what happens is, as long as they get a tick from your hot, it'll reset the 3-second buff on yourself, right? So let's say you heal somebody with an orb when they're 10%, and then you have the hot that ticks for like 12 seconds or whatever. Every time it ticks, you're going back to 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 3 seconds. So if you put that on multiple people, you should be good to go. But regardless, when I'm playing this kind of build, Orbit Protection gives me a Fortify that lasts for 20 some seconds and a heal over time that lasts, and you can do the rest with your Void Gauntlet. So it's not really a huge deal. And then I would probably just go a setup like this for optimal Void Gauntlet kind of hybrid damage healing. So it's nothing too crazy. What we're looking for here is maintenance. We just need some kind of maintenance on top. You throw the orb or you throw the beacon on the target, you drop Sacred Ground, and you just swap over the Void Gauntlet. So if you're coming from the bookmark, I suggest two options for this. You just do the normal healing side that we always do, or you go Orb of Protection, and you're going to throw that on for maintenance right before. Or if you're more of a Beacon Lord, we can go this way. You probably go like Speed of Light, go like that. do something like this. Just buff your team up, get some stuff out there, and then you have Light's Embrace in the pocket. You can throw this preemptively and then just throw it when it's off cooldown, but you'll still get a lot of healing out of your Void Gauntlet. So let's jump over to that one instead now. All right, so now here we are on the Void Gauntlet, and it's going to be kind of similar to some things you've seen. We're going to actually mix my damage Void Gauntlet with my healing Void Gauntlet, and it's an interesting mix, and I'm going to explain why, but we're looking for the most damage possible. So what are we going to do here? We're going to take Blade, and we're going to put a point in. We want that Fortify. It's nice. Crit chance, yes. Crit reduction, absolute must. Why? Because it's going to allow us to heal for a time, but also keep up a constant power. The amount of Oblivions you can get off when you run a Void Blade in your comp is absolutely just insane. So you throw down this Oblivion, you have a 30% weapon damage buff to everybody, right? And it's down for about 6 seconds. But the thing is, if you're standing behind the target and you're constantly critting, you're getting a 10% cooldown reduction every time you get a critical hit. So I'm just swinging, crit, 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 crit. It's going to reduce it. You'll just pretty much chain Oblivion after Oblivion after Oblivion as long as you don't have to life staff swap because somebody got low health. So absolutely nuts for supplemental, DPS. This would be great in a mutator because you'll have so many Oblivions coming out. And the other beautiful part is that our Void Blade puts on those 3 stacks, 15% weapon damage per second, but it also gives you a 15% rend. So every time you hit them with the Void Blade, you put 5% on, maintain that 3 stack. It is nuts. We'll take more crit damage here because we have a ton of crit synergy. We'll go for cooldown reduction. We'll go for empowering proximity. We're going to take keen humility, and we're going to take Forsaken Pact. All additional damage, and we're going to take Void Caller. Void Caller gives you a lot of extra healing because that circle, not only does it do damage and does a ton of AoE damage, it also gives you healing. And that's what's going to help top some people off once in a while. Now what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to the decay side. So we get a lot of damage here, tons of output, tons of crit synergy. We will, I think, have 1 point left if I'm doing this right. We're going to have to take Fervent Thirst just because, none of these are really that great and they're not going to do us much good. So you can either do Fervent Thirst or you can do Deadly Range, whatever you want to do. Then I'm going to take Radiant Efficiency and I'm going to max out Essence Rupture. Now, I have options, okay? Here's the big thing though, what you need to know with Essence Rupture. This is what's going to do the majority of your healing. You throw it on a target, everybody that's hitting that target gets a 20% damage done heal. It's essentially a leech on the target. And then because we take this last point, when it's done, it hits for 80% of your weapon damage as a burst heal. So it's going to be like 1,000 to 2,000, depending on how you've got your stats allocated. Now, here's the big thing. What people don't realize is we have so much crit synergy here. We get so much cooldown reduction that we're going to overlap these. And every time you force one on and you throw one on, it actually pops this end overflowing essence. So meaning if I have, still 5 seconds left on it, I throw another one out, burst heal, right? Get all the crits, burst heal. And because we have things like empowering proximity too, we're just going to do more damage as we get more Oblivions, more Essence Ruptures. You can even pop your Void Blade and then cancel it and then repop it as the cooldown comes back up. But the big thing is that we're going to get so much healing right here because we can reset it, but it's also just giving us AoE heals. And then again, Void Caller keeps it up. Our Oblivion is a pseudo heal over time cooldown because it's giving increased damage. And that's pretty much it. This is the build. It gives you a ton of damage and healing. Now, this very last point, up to you. If you're worried about not hitting, your crits, you can take Refreshing Harvest, but I don't. If you want to take Mending Evasion, this is actually bugged at the moment where it's actually full resetting a cooldown. So don't take advantage of that, but it will be a heal if you're at full mana, but a lot of the time we won't be at full mana in this build. So generally what I do is I just opt for Leeching Agony, get that extra crit synergy, keep yourself up. It scales really well when you're using something with Voracious Blade, and it is fantastic. But so for all of you coming from the bookmark, here is the speed damage build. It's a little bit different. It's a mix of a couple of my builds. We don't take Orb, we don't take Scream. Instead, we take the Essence Rupture from our healing setup, and we take Oblivion and Void Blade for some damage here. And it's going to give us a ton of group synergy. What's the goal here? Take your Void Blade out. We heal with Void Caller every time it's up, but we get a lot of crit synergy and a lot of crit cooldown reduction. Why is that important? Constant Oblivions for the team, but 2, constant Essence Ruptures. And every time we re-Essence Rupture on a target that hasn't had its full duration yet, means we pop Overflowing Essence when they overlap, meaning we can force a 1 to 2k heal every time we throw another one out. So between health potions, our maintenance here, whatever we have on the life staff, there's a lot of healing going out, and we're in a really, really, really solid spot as far as speed pushes. All right, gamers, let's talk about the one thing you really care about and the questions you ask me. Let's talk attributes, gearing, all that jazz. So here we are. Here's my attribute breakdown. 183 int, 200 focus, 100 con. In general, what I've been shooting for is the 150, 200, 100. You go 150, 150, 150 if you want. You go 200, 150, 100. Whatever tickles your fancy, but let me explain why I'm doing the things I'm doing. One, it's super important to hit the 150 int because we want that 15% elemental damage. That's big. That's a lot of extra damage on top of everything else you're doing. So that comboed with this extra crit synergy and then just the free light and heavy attack damage, that's fantastic. And you'll get more damage scaling out of your Void Gauntlet with int. And then focus. Why I'm at 200 focus? It's great for clearing. Personally, I like having this 20% healing output, but the reason why I put that extra 50 in is because it gives me just enough where I feel like it's pretty easy still to heal if I need to just swap with my life staff. Quite honestly, I don't even need to respec if I just want to be a dedicated healer for a group, so it's not a bad spot. But ideally, if you're looking to pump maximum damage, I would go 200 in, and then you also get that 10 mana after dodge, which helps, or whatever you're gonna get done. Ideally too, I'd be in a full loadout and I can have another bubble, but having this 200 int bubble would be really nice supplementally. But you can also go the 100 to 150 con route. Typically I sit at 100 con. I'm at 10k health. I feel solid here. I have so much leech it doesn't even matter. But the big ones that I'm gonna suggest hitting: 150 int, 150 focus, and 100 con. And then those last 50, you want to pump more damage, go int. You want to be able to heal pretty solid. Like, honestly, I could heal a whole expedition at 200 focus to 150 focus. Go there. But if you want some more survivability, you're worried about getting hit, might as well pump to the 150 con. Totally up to you, but yeah, those are my breakdowns. So if you're coming from that bookmark, 150, 150, 100, 50 rest on the top, you decide. Now for gearing. Let's talk about gearing. As you can see here, I'm not in a full medium loadout, and I'll explain why, but it's because I need perks. And that's a me thing. But so for a true full medium loadout, we're gonna want heavy helmet, heavy chest, medium gloves, light pants, medium boots. Now for me, I just had these gloves on because I was doing some other things. I wanted Fortifying Sacred Ground on, and I don't have another Fortifying Sacred Ground piece that fit in, so it's not a big deal. But the other big thing is that you need Voracious Blade. These are horrible boots, not very good. I'm gonna get new ones, but Voracious Blade is fantastic for self-maintenance. You were healing so much, and then on top of all your other stuff and all the other leech on your gear, it's absolutely absurd. Like you just do not die. And so having Voracious Blade is a must. If you want for PvE, you can take Nullifying Oblivion. The one for Essence Rupture isn't needed at all. It's not very good, so you can go that route instead. But in general, you want Voracious Blade. You want as much healing as you can. It's not as important, but I just take Fortifying Sacred Ground on my gear so that I can swap weapons and still give a free Fortify out. So that one's pretty big. If you're on Orb right now, Mending Protection doesn't work, but it will work if you want to run this after the patch. This build will be very good after the patch as well. My pants, I just have, Elemental Aversion on, and then Accelerating Light's Embrace is always one that doesn't hurt. It's great for PvP if you want to run a build like this in PvP. I wouldn't run Essence Rupture, that's for sure. This is more of a speed clearing PvE damage build. But then as far as other gear, I'm just running Void Ment, just my extra pieces. It's for luck, right? You could also flip this into like a medium helmet, heavy chest, heavy legs, and then you go light, and it still works really well. Whatever you want to do, as long as you can get the perks that you want. I should also flip these gems out. I keep saying stuff like that. But neck, I always put health on my neck. That's the big one. Health, and then divine would be good if you want to get other heals from whatever's coming. Refreshing evasion, all kinds of stuff. But the real big one on my neck is always health. Ring, I still have this one because I haven't crafted a sacred ring. I just haven't had great luck. But you want a sacred ring, or you want one. Ideally, if you're running this build, I should have one with sacred and keen. Sacred and keen would be absolutely nuts. So get that going. And then on my earring, you're going to want con, you're going to want refreshing, you want regenerating, and then what is it? Any of the toasts that you feel good with. Again, I just use Ill-Gotten Gain. Sure, I lose 5 of stat, but I get all the perks I want. Refreshing toast, regenerating, all that stuff. And if you get a refreshing roll on there too, that'd be great. I just have horrible luck rolling jewelry. Anyway, that's really what you want for perks wise. Then on weapon, I have Will of the Ancients. This is ideal. This is the only WOTA I've ever seen, so I'm running this one. Blessed, refreshing move. It's not as mandatory. You just need something with blessed in this loadout. As far as Void Gauntlet goes, a lot of people ask me, what do I want on my Void Gauntlet? What am I doing? I literally am just using a nothingness for this, and it's absolutely insane how much damage I have. I have that life stealing. But perks wise on the Void Gauntlet, here's what we're gonna want. Life stealing if you have it, but Biss for actual damage. You could run one if you after the patch when you can craft Blessed, Keen, and Vicious. Right now, that would be insane for healing output, but as well as damage. That applies to your Essence Rupture. That applies to your Void Caller Ultimate. it does an extra amount of healing with Blessed on there, so that's fantastic. But for damage purposes, look for the crit ones. We have so much crit synergy, so Vicious Keen would be great. Then Keeling Power, or this has Enchanted, that's solid. But these aren't the best damage ones. Really shoot for those crit perks. But as far as the gem goes, this is where it's important. Flip your gem to whatever affinity is going to be the best for the expedition. So what do I mean by that? I'm running Guardian of Genesis most recently, so I have a Ruby in there, meaning I do extra fire damage, right? Fire damage is better than Void, so I split that in half. I'm getting 50% of my scaling as one of the best damages against Angry Earth. When I'm running Lazarus, I throw in a Lightning Gem, and then that does more than Void, but Void itself already does a bunch, but the coefficient for Lightning is even higher, meaning I have an insane split for damage, right? So just use the gem that is going to be the best against the mob you're fighting, and that will treat you well. But as far as perks, you just want high damage perks here, and then if you can eventually get that Blessed Roll, that would be fantastic. For consumables, I'm just throwing on a Ginger Snap cookie, but the big thing when you're running a build like this that consumes a lot of mana, eat your attribute food and then eat your mana food, and you get all the buffs down below. You can see all those buffs. Use your honing stones, your coatings, everything like I normally tell you, and you will pump a ton of damage and run through those expeditions super, super fast. All right, so it is time for everybody's favorite. Let's go over rotation, gameplay, decisions, everything. I will preface this saying, there is no perfect rotation. I'm going to give you the general gist. A lot of people DM me, ask me questions. Hey, how should I do this rotation? Should I do this? It depends situationally. So for this build, ideally, right, I pre-beacon or pre-orb, depending on what I'm using. I'll throw it in my tank, throw it on my group, and then I'll just start going to town. You're going to want to get up close. And first, I always put down my Oblivion. That starts up the cooldown, allows me to start critting so I can get cooldown reduction right away. Then I hit my blade, then I throw Essence Rupture on. Now, that'll give me optimal crit time to get the most Oblivions. I try to stand behind the boss, and I just keep whacking at him. Every time you have a cooldown up, whether it's Essence Rupture or Oblivion, and if you have a second Void Gauntlet in the group, time it right, but throw down your Oblivion as it comes up. Not only is that going to give your group an empower, but it also gives you the empowering proximity. So you'll pop that blade then next, you'll throw Essence Rupture on, and the reason why we use Oblivion first is that if Essence Rupture crits, we get cooldown reduction. On our first blade hit, as soon as we get it, we get cooldown reduction. Sure, it doesn't really matter. Sure, you could probably do blade first if you really wanted to, so you could be a little bit more fluid. I just prefer to get my team damage first. That is the big thing. Getting them damage, and then again, if you want to start off healing, do it, throw them down. But as people need heals, feel free to swap off, throw on your life staff. It's situational. Sometimes people are going to take a bunch of hits, and at the root of it, you can still heal. It's very easy to. But in general, what I try to focus on is just staying behind the boss, just doing tons of damage, and by getting your Essence Rupture to reset constantly, you'll throw it back on, it'll pop Essence Rupture. You'll throw it back on every time you crit and get enough cooldown reduction, and then it'll just keep popping those big heals off. You'll get a ton of Void Caller healing. But in general, everybody will keep themselves sustained through Essence Rupture, and you will just keep boosting damage through Oblivions. I mean, just watch when I'm getting a ton of crits, how much cooldown reduction that actually translates to, and how many Oblivions I can get out. Critting is key. So when they're in vulnerable states, take advantage of it, but just watch how much damage I'm pushing, watch how fast we're killing things. It is absurd. This is my speed running build. You can heal as you need it, but again, rotate through your abilities, pump DPS, and just annihilate any boss you come across and blaze through expeditions. This here is just another little clip I want to highlight. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Laz, but the last boss, when he hits a 66% and a 33% health, he shoots a laser beam that destroys sides of the platform. We end up doing so much damage because I'm in this build. We have an optimal team comp, and I'm hoping to make a video on mutator team comps to pump out extra damage. But we get him down almost to 66% before he even gets into his vulnerability phase. And then in that vulnerability phase, we not only push him past the 66%, we also pass 33%, meaning as soon as he comes up, he doesn't just shoot one laser, he shoots both lasers, and we can only get one vulnerability phase total. Meaning we pumped a ton of damage and we still kill him before most groups will get him down, even with two. It's just insane. I thought it was hilarious, and it's something I wanted to highlight, that these are the things you can do. These are the kinds of things you can skip. Every boss, just watch the health bar melt. It's crazy when you start to do these kinds of things because you'll just start pumping through expeditions like they're nothing. They're super easy, and as long as people are using health potions, dodging mechanics, you should never have any concern with expeditions that you come across, and you can really run this build as a mutator side healer just to pump damage and have extra buffs. Right, so then I think it's important to talk about how do I think this build will fit into the meta? How do I think it excels? Right now, I use it as a speed damage clearing healer so that I really don't have to do any healing. We can just get through expeditions as fast as possible. But where I really want to highlight it is a supplemental mutator piece. I think you can have one of your DPS, air quotes DPS, run this kind of build, and maybe they throw on orbs that you can run like Splash of Light or something like that, where they can throw out a buff onto everybody, but then they have the Void Blade to stack extra heals, to help with, additional essence ruptures, to maintain a 15% rend, and just to give you more empowers. If you have two Void Gauntlets and rotating who's putting Oblivion down, that's key. But I think the real big piece of this build is it does great damage. It gives a lot of extra healing where you may need it in a mutator, but it applies a constant rend and gives your whole team an additional source of empower that you do not have to focus on. So that's where I really think it's going to fit into the meta coming in the next patch. All right, so that's everything I have for you today. I hope you enjoy this build. Let me know if you try it out. Drop me a comment. I'll connect with you. As always, hit up the socials. Join us on Discord. Follow us on Twitch. We stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday around 10:30 a.m. Central Time. Go for 5 hours. Follow us on Twitter, TikTok. If you want to send me a DM, let me know. And if you want to support me directly, feel free to hit up my Patreon. On my Patreon, I do early content releases, ask for input, gives you another line of contact with me, and I show some stuff from other games that I play too. So I just want to say thank you to all of my patrons. Thank you, Jacob, Thuggius, Shane, Gill, Anarino, Jero, Nathaniel, Thonar, Joseph, Tarvi, Generic Guy, Ronan, Ralph, Bob, Florian, Blue Beagle, GD, BJ, Kitchens, Dexter, Rich, Rob, Josh, Michelle, Nate, Rich, and Somanex. Thank you all for your support, but thank you to every single one of you just for watching. As always, if you keep doing that weird YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, tell your grandma, your grandpa, I would appreciate it. But as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And thank you to every single one of you for being you.